What's up YouTube? It's Coach Cory. If you want to max your account in Brawl Stars, you got to choose what brawlers you want to max first. So you got to know what star powers are best. So today, we're going to go over every star power, ranking them from best to worst. Let's get into it. Alright guys, to celebrate reaching 15,000 subscribers, I asked you all a poll of what video you wanted me to do, and the most voted one by a good amount was a free-to-play ranking video. So I'm going to do that really shortly, and I was thinking about doing this video, and I was like, okay, well, free-to-play ranking video, I'm probably not going to include the star powers of the brawlers. I feel like you're free-to-play, you probably don't have that many star powers. But I figured before I do that, because of that, it would make sense to do a star power ranking video. So that's what we're doing today. We're gonna rank all the star powers from best to worst. And let's start out at the bottom of the list. All right, starting out at number 21, the worst star power in the game is Dynamite's. Dynamite's star power is when he ever walks over one of his explosives, it causes him to bounce or jump in the air. There's not a lot of cases where this is super useful, and that's why it's at the bottom of the list. And on top of that, it's hard to aim really well. Like if you want to jump and go to a specific area, it's hard to consistently do that very often. If you practice at it a lot, you can definitely get good at it. But if you're just trying to casually pick up the game and play Dynamite, and maybe he's not your favorite brawler, so you're not constantly practicing his star power, you're not going to be able to use it that well. You can use it to evade other thrower attacks. It's probably the most useful one. And potentially jump over walls like in Showdown sometimes, but most of the time it's really not that useful. All right, at 20, the second worst star power in the game is Penny. Penny's star power, it's just not that good. Whenever her cannon explodes, 6 of those frag bombs blow up randomly of wherever her cannon is, about 3 to 5 tiles away from where the cannon is. And I mean, like, think about it. Her cannon is a really long-range cannon. It goes about 12 tiles, so you're placing it in situations or areas where there's really not likely to be enemies around it. A lot of the times it dies from either a thrower or a long-range brawler hitting it. And then oftentimes, even when there is like a melee brawler close by, a lot of times they just get hit once from that, and just throughout the course of a game, the amount of times that star power has much or any impact at all is very small. So Penny's star power, again, is not that useful. All right, at 19, the third worst star power in the game is gonna be El Primo's. El Primo's, whenever he jumps on an enemy and he hits someone, they get dealt 600 damage over 4 seconds. So extra damage, always appreciated, but 600 damage over 4 seconds, and only when he hits someone with his super, throughout the course of a game, that's not that much extra damage. And it's often not that big of a deal whether you get hit with that or not. Yes, it does help out a little bit, but it's like the equivalent of 2 punches. And just throughout the course of a game, this has a really small impact. Compared with the next brawler, it's not nearly that much damage throughout a game. Now at 18, if you couldn't figure it out from my last comment, it's going to be Brock. Brock is whenever he fires his main attack, wherever it lands, that area gets set on fire, and it's dealt about 240 damage per second. It lasts for about 2 to 3 seconds wherever that fire is. It's a small radius for that fire, but it does end up providing a little bit of extra damage throughout the course of a game. It's not as bad as El Primo's for sure, because it's able to be used every single attack. So throughout the course of a game, it might add up a little bit, but as far as helping you get that kill, it's probably not that big of a difference. So that's why Brock's is at 18. All right, at 17 is Pam's star power. Pam's star power is whenever she hits an enemy, she gets healed 30 health herself and any ally in a small radius around her. So honestly, this is actually really useful in Robo Rumble. In Robo Rumble, you're grouped up with your allies very often towards the end, especially versus the boss. And it can be really useful then, as like the boss doesn't have a really high DPS, so you can easily stay alive with her star power. But outside of Robo Rumble, I mean, you don't really want to be grouped up with your teammates. So the amount of times that this is that useful, maybe for low trophy levels where people group up a lot, it's a little bit more useful. But otherwise, it doesn't get used that much. It's pretty good for Pam herself to have a little bit extra healing, but it doesn't end up healing her teammates that much. Alright, at 16, another star power that's still not that useful is Poco's. Poco's is whenever he uses his main attack and it hits an ally, they get healed for 400 health. Now, this doesn't work on Poco himself. That's one of the main limiters of this star power. So a lot of times this isn't the most useful because you'd much rather be attacking an enemy. It's going to deal way more damage equivalent as opposed to the healing. It only heals 400 versus hitting an enemy does way more damage. So there's not a lot of cases where you would use it just for his star power. The cases would be is when you just died, you're coming from the spawn and there's a teammate in front of you, but you don't have any enemies in range yet. That would be probably one of the best times to use Poco's star power, and that can definitely be a good case. Another time might be you're healing a teammate who has a bunch of gems because you dropped them, and you want to keep them alive, but it's not that much healing. Honestly, could have maybe ranked Poco's a little bit lower. It's definitely not that good. Now at 15 is Daryl. Daryl's star power is whenever he supers, if he gets hit while he's supered, he's dealt 80% less damage. Now, it's actually not that bad, but the reason it's not ranked very high is he doesn't super a ton throughout the course of a game. It definitely helps him a good amount while he's supering, as you can easily see it coming because it's a really long super, so you can prepare for it and you can pre-fire shots as to where you think he's going to be landing or going. So, for instance, if you're a Shelley and you're hitting a Daryl who doesn't have the star power, you can definitely deal a lot of damage to them, as they can't stop until they're done rolling. So if he has a star power, that definitely helps in that situation, but it's not used a ton throughout the course of a game. Now at 14 is Frank. Frank's star power is whenever an enemy dies, a soul drops on the field, the red soul, and he can walk over that soul, pick it up, and then he deals an extra 30% damage for 10 seconds. Now an extra 30% damage is a lot of extra damage, so it definitely can be useful. Essentially, what this allows Frank to do is 3-shot people much more easily, or 2-shot any of those 3,000 or 4,000 health brawlers. Frank can then 2-shot those enemies. So it can definitely be useful. It can make it have Frank have to do one less hit, which for Frank is a really big deal because it's hard for him to get a lot of hits in. So it's a pretty decent star power. All right, at 13 is Nita. Nita's star power is whenever her bear hits an enemy, she gets healed 300 health, and whenever she hits an enemy, her bear gets healed 300 health. So in theory, this is a pretty decent star power, as if you're doing really well, it can definitely be useful and it can deal a good amount of healing, but in reality, you end up not getting a lot of total healing either to you or your bear throughout the course of a game. So it's okay as an idea, but it just ends up not being used that much. At 12, we have Bull. Bull's star power is whenever he falls below 40% health, his reload speed doubles. This can actually be a pretty decent star power, especially when he's attacking tanks. Any sort of tank that he is going up against, this star power is really going to give him an edge. It's going to at least allow him to get one more shot in, which at close range can definitely be really key and help him win those one-on-ones and stay alive. This is where Frank is definitely one of the best close-range tanks in the game because of this star power. It can be definitely pretty decent. Obviously, it doesn't really help much if he's not in range of anyone, so that's sort of the limiter. And of course, he has to be low health as well for it to be used. At 11, we have Tara. Tara's star power is whenever she uses her super, a shadow version of herself appears. The shadow version has 2,000 health and a really fast move speed. I think it's the same as Crow's. And honestly, because of that move speed is why it's pretty good. Tara's super is a really great way to get kills and multiple kills. And just adding on anything that just makes it even more assured that you're going to get that kill just puts it a little bit over the edge and assures that Tara gets back her next super and changes the course of a game. The purpose of Tara's super is to completely destroy whenever you use it. So adding on anything that just helps make sure that happen can definitely be good. It's not a really great star power because, for instance, if it's an enemy that can hit multiple people like Poco or Nita, they're going to get good value by hitting you and her star power. But since it moves really fast and it can definitely get some damage in, it's a good distraction. It's pretty decent. At number 10, we have Colt. Colt's star powers basically allows him to move faster, puts him somewhere in between. He's not as fast as Crow. He's really similar to the move speed of a tank, maybe slightly faster. And for Colt, this can be pretty decent as it allows him to, 1, escape faster, and 2, if someone's trying to run away from him, he can catch up to them. And as well as a long-range brawler, it allows him to dodge shots a little bit easier. It's not an amazing star power. It used to be because it basically made him as fast as Crow, and that was really, really strong. Now it's not amazing, but it's definitely useful. All right, at 9, we have Shelley. Shelley's star power is whenever she hits an enemy with her super, it slows them down for 2.5 seconds. Now, this can seem like an amazing star power, but it's really her super is so flashy, it can be really good. So when you ever super someone, it can definitely allow Shelley to get a little bit closer in range and also slow down that person so they're not quite attacking you right away as fast. And Shelley can just deal a little bit more damage to finish them off. It's maybe not an amazing super, but it helps Shelley get that kill to ensure that she finishes them off whenever she supers someone. Okay, at number 8 is Piper. Piper's star power is whenever she's hidden in the bush and she attacks someone, she can deal up to an additional 400 damage. That's at max range. If you're at close range, it doesn't deal the same amount. It varies just like her normal attack. But for Piper, this can be a big deal as you really want to do as few hits as possible with Piper. As 1, her reload speed is so slow, you don't really have, you sort of have to use that element of surprise when you can, because you're probably at most going to get 2 shots on someone unless it's a really open map or field. So being able to hit someone and deal as much damage as possible with Piper can be key and can help you get those kills. So for Piper, this is definitely a good star power suited to her, and it's really good for her main game mode, Bounty. At number 7, we have Crow. Crow's star power, not very flashy, but it's very effective. Whenever Crow poisons someone, they deal 10% less damage. And this can add up a lot throughout the course of a game, can definitely impact whether a kill happens or not. Think about it this way. Imagine you and your teammates dealt 10% more damage, the opposite. You would definitely notice it and it would feel pretty good. So now flip it the other way, which is what it really is, and those enemies are dealing 10% less damage. It can definitely help keep you and your teammates alive, and throughout the course of a game, it's a good amount damage reduced. Okay, at number 6, we have Barley. Barley's star power is whenever he attacks with his main attack, he gets healed for 200 health. This may not seem like a super flashy star power, but for Barley, it's really good. I mean, 1, throughout the course of a game, that's a good amount of healing for sure. And 2, it's really good for Barley because for Barley, he's a very control type brawler. His attacks have a wide radius, don't deal a lot of damage, so a lot of the main purpose for Barley is attacking constantly and keeping enemies either away from a certain position or in a certain position. So being able to continuously attack is really good for Barley, and that is what this star power does. If he is mid health or low health, he can think about keeping attacking because of that star power. He can heal up slowly throughout the course of a game, and he can do that from an area where it's hard for an enemy to reach him. So even if he is low health in what would normally be a dangerous situation, because he can attack over walls and because he heals up with his star power, he can keep attacking even if he is mid or low health, and that is really key for Barley. At number 5 is Spike. Spike's star power, definitely good. Whenever he is standing in his super, he gets healed for 500 health per second. Now, this is a really good star power. The only reason it's not ranked higher is because he doesn't end up standing in his super all that much. It can definitely happen, and it does happen, but it doesn't happen a ton. So when he's in his super, it's really, really good, and it heals him a lot, and it easily helps him win whatever one-on-one he's going in. If it's a 2-on-1, there's a good chance he's still probably going to die. But if it's a 1-on-1, he's probably going to win it if he's standing in that star power. Now, you can actually just use it strictly for healing. You can super yourself just to heal up. It does happen some. Not that often. It's not the best use of it, but it does allow it. So it's a good star power. It doesn't end up being used a ton. When it does get used, it is really good though. Now at number 4, the 4th best star power in the game is Mortis. Mortis' star power is whenever an enemy dies, they drop a green soul on the field. And whenever Mortis walks over it, as long as he's not at full health, he gets healed up to 1,000 health. He doesn't have 1,000 health to be healed. Obviously, he can't heal more than that. This star power can definitely be really good for Mortis. As with Mortis, as a close range, sort of mid-health assassin, being able to have that extra health can be really key, as he doesn't deal a ton of damage per hit, and he sort of has, you know, not a lot of health, a decent amount of health, but being able to get healed a little bit more can easily help him win whatever battle he's fighting on, or if it's Brawl Ball, it can help him stay alive and score that goal. Now, early game, this ends up not being that useful, of course, as there's not that many dead people, but towards the end of the game, Mortis can be wrecking the enemy with all the souls on the field, and it can definitely be a really good star power. Now, at number 3, the third best star power in the game is Bo. Now, Bo's star power is it gives him extra vision in the bushes, so he can see about an extra 6 tiles, and that vision, of course, gets shared with his teammates, and that's just for wherever Bo is standing. So in maps like Snake Prairie, Outlaw Camp, Feast or Famine, even Thousand Lakes, Bo's star power is really good. Now, arguably, Bo's star power is the most impactful in the game, whether you have it or don't have it on those maps. But the reason it's not ranked higher is because there's not a lot of maps where it's that useful. Pretty much those 4 maps I mentioned, it can be useful on some others as well, but those are definitely the 4 ones where it's really impactful. And on top of Bounty not showing up that often anymore, Bo's star power just doesn't get used that much. So because of that, it's not ranked higher, but it is, when it's used on those maps, really, really impactful. Now, at number 2, the second best star power in the game is Jessie's. Jessie's star power is whenever she shoots her turret, it heals her turret for 800 health. And on top of that, it also bounces off her turret like a normal Jessie bounce, and it can hit enemies. It goes towards the closest enemy after that. So this can be really good because Jessie's turret, it doesn't have the highest health. That's 4,000 health, but if you can place it behind a wall and then you have an enemy going for it and you just bounce shots off her turret, you're healing her turret, and then it hits the turret and goes towards the closest enemy, it can be really strong. Because if you are going and attacking Jessie's turret and you're not able to take it down, if she just keeps healing it up, you're charging her second turret back up again, and you might be getting dealt damage as well. It can definitely be a really strong star power. If you can keep that turret up, it can be really good. It can be, I mean, it's basically a 4-on-3 at that point. If you're not able to take that turret down, it can definitely have a big impact throughout the course of a game. I do have to say, when they adjusted the auto aim though to where if there isn't an enemy in sight and you auto-aim Jessie's attack, it goes towards her turret, that definitely helped it a lot. Before that, it was hard to always be hitting her turret, and now it definitely makes it a little bit easier for everyone to take advantage of Jessie's star power. And now, if you haven't figured it out, the number 1 star power in Brawl Stars is Ricochet's. Ricochet's star power has a huge impact on him throughout a game. Not only does it make, well, here, let me explain it. First off, it's whenever Ricochet bounces his shot, it goes faster and further, and it deals more damage. It does 80 more damage per shot. So every time you shoot with a Ricochet shot and it bounces, it goes faster, further, and it deals more damage. Every time you shoot with him, it can deal an extra 200 to 300 damage easily. This can be really good for Ricochet, as it makes him get a little bit extra range, which for him is really important because he's really low health. And it also makes it, you hit more shots. Because those shots are going faster, it's easier to hit more shots at once. And on top of that, not only are you hitting more shots because it goes faster and it's further range, it also deals more damage. So for Ricochet, this can easily help him get those kills as a high damage dealer brawler. And this is just a fantastic fantastic star power, and it really helps out Ricochet. Alright guys, that's it for my star power ranking video. Let me know your thoughts below on my ranking and what ones you agree with or disagree with. Coming up soon, we have my free-to-play brawler ranking video, so watch out for that. Guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you later.